Alright, so we are going to couple some hose. We happen to have things like boxes like this, boxes like, you know, random stuff laying around, and these boxes are full of can't tell if you can see them there or not. Okay. Things like copper rings, those are expansion rings. Those are mostly 1 inch. Some of those are brass. That looks more brass than copper, which is probably harder to do, but maybe it's better. I don't know. I certainly can't claim to be an expert on this stuff, but I've been doing it for a while and it seems to be working most of the time for me. That's an 1.5 inch expansion ring. And then there's all these other pieces, different fittings for the drawbars, different couplings for the drawbars. This is the box of random spare parts basically that we might be able to make one of these drawbars work with. There are lots and lots of different kinds and different ways to assemble them, and these ones are really old. Some of the newer ones will have they like electric power style drawbars that are pretty darn nice. But again, you have to have all just the right parts. So this right here is the old style drawbar that we have. Drawbar, I think that's expander. I don't know, I always heard it referred to as a drawbar, but it's an expander. So the way it works is that guy spins. That is all the way open, relaxed. When you spin this, pulls this piece back into this keyed expansion area, and those keys expand out. When they expand out, they push out on the copper ring, and that fills this piece on the inside. That will couple the hose to the coupling, okay, using that guy. So this one's pretty nice and greased and smooth and mostly works. Again, I'm not an expert. I could be doing parts of this wrong, but it seems to be semi-functional. So, yeah. How long a piece of hose do you want is the next question. Lay the hose out. It just so happens that from the concrete seam is 20 feet, which is about perfect for what I am looking for, which are short lengths of hose to work around and in a pump site, to run multiple pumps, go in different ways, do different things without having 100 feet of extra hose until I go wide or something like that. So these pretty nifty giant huge scissors are one thing. See how well they work. Very nice. There it is. So, looking for a clean edge, and those scissors are far superior to the knife. That can go back in the kit. I don't think we'll cut it. But if I have to deal with a knife, I usually use a fairly clean serrated knife. It cuts the stuff fairly well. You want that edge as clean as possible and as straight as possible. If that edge is clean and straight, you don't get as much just loose debris that kind of sticks in there and hangs things up. So, in this case, we're using the end of a piece of hose. We've already cut into this hose a few times, so you know, damaged hose is usually what I go after. We already have a female connector on there, so we need a male connector on the other end, and we're going to use the male connector off a piece of hose that was burned and or damaged. Okay, so this is the male connector end set up in a vise. This is the female piece that goes with it, but I don't really need it right now. So you can see in there, your hose goes in, expansion rings on the inside in there. You can see it even better from this side usually. Expansion rings on the inside. You got to break that expansion ring loose and pull it out of there. I'm sure that there's a really good way to do that. I don't necessarily know what that really good way is. But this tool is intended for that purpose. So, the way I was taught to do this is you find a place where you can get one of the prongs of this odd looking tool in there. And note how there's a bar underneath it so that when we hit it with a hammer, the coupling will probably slide a little bit, and stupid thing keeps coming loose. It's not like I ever take it apart. The coupling will probably slide down, catches on that. That slipped in really easily because it went right through and missed the ring. Okay, I caught the ring on that one. So I hooked the ring with one of the prongs and drove it down between the housing the coupling and the ring itself. I started on the outside just so I could kind of get in there and the hose would kind of help me. It'll put a little ding in the coupling, but I'm not too worried about that. And then I went to the inside so it slides down between the hose and the copper expansion ring. And all I have to do is start prying on it. And you tell me to twist it. Twisting it doesn't work, it just slides. There it is. So, inside there, that's what it would look like. That is the damaged, destroyed copper expansion ring. That is the old hose. That goes in the garbage. Oh, so close. That goes in copper recycling because that's copper. And that becomes the end of a new piece of hose. As I look at it, this hose has seen better days, or this coupling's seen better days, but it'll work. That's your male end on the inside. Let's see here. That is probably where I first clipped it and got underneath the expansion ring, and the rest of it's actually not that damaged. This washer on the inside is fairly important to try and get the new expansion ring up against that and with the hose in between it. That keeps things from leaking. A lot of the times you miss it or it slips a little bit, and so be it. A little bit of a leaky hose that's really useful is probably better than nothing, but with some practice you can actually get those things working correctly. Okay, so this is the kind of funky part. Ultimately, what we're looking to do is take your nice new, brand new expansion ring, inch and a half hose. These come in different lengths, and I think the lengths correlate to the length of the coupling. Again, it's been a long time since I did much of this. I think longer is typically better up to the point where it gets longer than the coupling. I don't think that's beneficial at all. I think you want it to fit inside. I'd use what you got because you probably have some laying around, or if you got to buy some that are, you know, relatively the right size for that. Measure that for me. Just tell me what the length is on that expansion ring.
1.25 inches.
1.25 inches in length. This length, diameter.
Outer diameter is 1.5 inches.
1.5 inches. Okay. So it starts out at 1.5 inches and it gets expanded to fit this up against the coupling. Yeah, outer diameter, 1.5 right there inside that. Okay, so how do you do this? There's a bunch of different ways. You could slide this guy on here, bring it up so it's just tight, and then you can try to fish this over it. I've done that before, and I'm seeming to recall that it's kind of a pain in the ass to get it to go over there. Sometimes it works really well and sometimes it doesn't. You see things moving around when you move them. I want to say that my best luck in general, I haven't done it in a while, is to fit it up. Okay, so I got my expansion ring up against the end. Go and fit that guy in there. Chuck the end. I want my hose and expansion ring right up against that gasket on the inside. Okay, and I'll put my thumb kind of back in here against that ring to keep it from pushing back. But I can only kind of do that because as it fits on there, you have to kind of fluff the hose. Yeah, that didn't work at all. Just shove the expansion ring down in there. I'm getting it, I'll get it out of there. Okay, there it is back at the end. Get it. Fit it up against the end. Okay, this time I'm just gonna fluff it back out. Try to minimize the, and I'm gonna kind of hope and pray here a little bit. Like that's the trick.
Feels snug.
Snugging up.
Yep.
Okay.
How's that?
Keep a little bit of tension on it. And probably hard to see in the camera. This guy here is graduated and there's 2 posts. These 2 posts stop and start. It can only go so far. In this case, we did a test run and we got it up to just right at the number 5 level, and that pressure tested just fine. So I'm shooting for number 5 on this pin. If you're doing a whole bunch of them, you can actually mark it. Okay, so that's expanding in there. Number 3. Every piece of hose is probably a little different. As to exactly what it needs. Okay, the last one we got just a little more out of. It's feeling really tight though. And there's the end of the bolt back here still, so we should have a little ways to go, but I want to say that I broke something like a coupling once doing this. That's where we got it to last time. Just shy of the 5. Every one of these machines is going to be different, and some of them don't even really have an index. But okay. So, expansion ring's in there. We didn't miss the expansion ring. It sat perfectly over the expander here. Everything's up against that gasket that was on the inside. This is like perfect. I'm glad we got one right for the video. But so that's up there just about right. It may have slipped back just a little bit, but that should do the trick. That'll hold water. Next step would be pressure test to 300 PSI. Just make sure it's working and you're good to go. This can work with 1.5 inch if you have expanders for different sizes. All I have is 1 and 1.5 and that seems to work just fine, but that's all I got. Blame. so we're gonna pressure test our hose that we just built. I'm just gonna fire up the Type 3. It's gonna, as soon as I flip the pump on, it's gonna immediately flow water to it. And that way, if it's a total catastrophic failure, it's probably gonna blow right off the end before we put any pressure to it. So it's a little less catastrophic. So we'll do that, and then if it holds, we'll run it up to 300 PSI. And here we go. So far, we'll hit it with some pressure. Okay, 300 PSI of static pressure, just, you know, sitting there. I wouldn't want to water hammer it, but the only leak is coming out of the nozzle itself. To meet NFPA, you'd want 3 minutes at this pressure, but you can actually shut the valve and hold the pressure that way. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down. Okay, so, no, it's fine. Since we closed the valve before we turned the pump off, we have 300 PSI still in there. So as long as it holds for 3 minutes, we're good to go. That's a pass. So after 3 minutes, we're still holding water. We're good to go. That one's a pass. Make the next piece of hose.
Make it stop.
All right, here we go. We're gonna do one more. So we have a female end sitting around here somewhere. It's over there. We're gonna go ahead and put it on this piece of hose. We'll need to get another coupling before we finish this chunk, but okay. That pipe, this is not a special tool, it's really just that piece of pipe. Put that guy in there. Don't over tighten. You don't want to oval out the coupling too much. Okay, that might be too much hose left over. It's hard to work through that sometimes. This is where you first put gloves on to not cut your finger, or just not cut your finger. That's the other option. Okay, so let's start with, hook it in there, bit of an angle. Stupid thing's twisting. Okay, so here I have come on, maybe you can focus on that. Maybe you can't. Okay, that's where I hooked the expansion ring right there. I hooked on the outside. Certainly got a little bit of the aluminum coupler, but it's a little better. So now I can put this Demon tool to work right there. Pound it back through, and that should finish it up. Out of there, that's out of there. A little bit of dirt and leftover hose in there. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Mostly because I don't know if I need to worry about it, but I don't think it's a problem. Okay, there's that. A little different angle there. All right, so here, expansion ring goes in, and the assistant here said mark this thing so you know where it's at. I seem to recall doing this before. I don't know how useful it'll be, but coupling. Okay, so I put that coupling in there and I get it up nice and tight against the gasket that's in there. Okay, that's where I like it. Up nice and tight against the gasket, and my line's buried. So I think, because I remember when the state guys taught me to do this, they put a line on it somewhere. I think they put a line here, actually.
That's where I put it.
Is that what you were actually telling me to do, not where the... Holy cow. Longer things would make it easier. We're stronger people. Is it getting hot yet?
Nope.
Okay. That's the 5 mark. That is nice. Pretty much up against the gasket in there. And it doesn't extend beyond the coupling. It's all contained within the coupling, so that's ideal. And you throw it on the ground.